How's it going, folks? Swordbreaker here, and I'd like to formally welcome you all to my new channel. This is my first video on YouTube, and I'll be trying my utmost to bring you, my viewers, the best quality content that I can. And with that said, I'd appreciate it a lot if you would subscribe to this channel, and help support me by giving this video an appropriate like or dislike at the end of this video. Thanks. So folks, as you can see on screen, today we will be defending the Sharkey Peninsula from a Russian offensive. And while I won't spoil my final score for you, I can say that when all is said and done, the peninsula remains firmly within the control of our own forces. Now, on to today's topic. A sequel to Battlefield 2142. Is it happening? Well, I certainly think so, and with the evidence I have compiled here, there is certainly a strong case for it. Now, for those of you who don't know, Battlefield 2142 was a futuristic shooter made by DICE just before the introduction of the Bad Company series in 2008. It is regarded by many as the best and most balanced Battlefield game of the series, which is why I'm so excited at the prospect of a sequel. Now, I'm not going to make the claim that a sequel to Battlefield 2142 is being made at DICE without substantial evidence to back it up. Otherwise, I'd just be spewing uninformed garbage into your ears. That's why I've compiled quite the amount of evidence that does suggest, arguably beyond reasonable doubt, that a sequel to Battlefield 2142 is being cooked up at DICE as you watch this very video. Now, I do realize that yes, Battlefield 4 has been confirmed. But this ties into the overall scheme of things in my opinion, and I'll explain Battlefield 4's relationship to a potential Battlefield 2142 sequel throughout the course of this video, so make sure to watch the whole thing. Now, my first snippet of evidence that does support the theory that a follow-up to Battlefield 2142 is in the works comes from a DICE representative speaking to Edge magazine, and this is regarding the argument made by some that the modern era shooter is getting stale. Speaking to Edge magazine, he said, quote unquote, "I think we're going to start seeing people moving away from the modern setting, because every now and again, settings or themes start to get stale, and then everyone jumps over. It used to be World War II, and recently it's been the modern era, and people are now moving towards the near future." End quote. Now this is interesting, because here DICE is pretty much admitting that the modern era shooter is going the way of the World War II shooter, and that it's becoming stale. So the question is, why would they want to make another modern shooter if they themselves admit the setting is now stale? And the fact that they admit that the industry is moving towards shooters set in the future only serves to reinforce the possibility that they are making a Battlefield 2142 sequel or follow-up. After all, why would they want to get left behind by an industry that they claim is now producing more futuristic shooters? The second piece of evidence I have here is actually pretty substantial, at least in my opinion. In the Back to Karkand expansion for Battlefield 3, within the map Strike at Karkand, there is a certain box or canister type thing which has the numbers 2143 inscribed on the outside of it. Now this is obviously more than a coincidence, but at the same time it could just be DICE cruelly teasing us. But the thing is, in Battlefield 2's Euroforce expansion DLC, there was a car with the number plate that read 2142, and that was the first hint that Battlefield 2142 was to release later that year. So who's to say that this 2143 Easter egg isn't serving the same purpose? This is definitely a big hint from DICE that the game is real, if you ask me. My third piece of evidence is yet another DICE representative being interviewed, and he says, quote unquote, "There is a lot of enthusiasm inside DICE for 2143. They love it as much as you guys do. Of course, it's an option." End quote. Now, DICE openly admits here that DICE, as a developer, would be very keen to make a sequel to 2142, whether it be a full game or a mere expansion. The fact that he says it's a quote-unquote option shows that a 2142 sequel or remake is definitely on the cards for DICE. Following on from that, the following is a piece of evidence that I discovered on a small subforum. Now, whether it's real or not, I'm not sure, but it's certainly something that's significant in terms of whether a 2142 sequel or remake is being planned by DICE, either as an expansion or a full game. It's a chat log session initiated at EA's online help desk, and it reads the following. Quote unquote, "The assistant says, 'Hi, my name is Raj. How may I help you?' Tom says hi, and then Tom goes on to say, post-release Battlefield 3, does DICE have any plans to remake Battlefield 2142, possibly called Battlefield 2143? The assistant then says, there are currently plans for a Battlefield 2142 sequel, the details of which are unknown to me at this point. Raj then goes on to say, I've just realised I shouldn't have told you that. Do me a favour and forget what I just said. Now, this really speaks for itself. An employee inside EA has all out confirmed that a sequel to 2142 is being planned. Now, whether or not this will take the form of the now confirmed Battlefield 4, or if it will be a separate expansion or an entirely different game in its own right, we don't know, but it's certainly something to note. Finally, I'd like to conclude by listing off all Battlefield games and their respective follow-ups and or sequels. Starting off with the first Battlefield game, Battlefield 1942, it was later remade by Battlefield 1943 in 2009. Battlefield Vietnam 1942 sequel was remade with Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam. Battlefield 2 was, of course, followed up by Battlefield 3. Battlefield 2142, released in 2007, was released, but no follow-up or remake has been confirmed as of yet. Battlefield Bad Company 1 was released in 2008, followed up by Bad Company 2. Now, do you not notice something odd here? If you didn't catch it, don't worry, I'll explain. Battlefield 2142 is the only core Battlefield game in existence not to have had a follow-up or remake. They've done it with every single Battlefield game except 2142. Now, if DICE continues on the trend they're on at the minute, which is following up or remaking previous Battlefield titles, 2142 is in line for the Frostbite treatment next. Now, we could all click away from this video right now, content in the persuaded knowledge that Battlefield 2142 will potentially be enjoying a follow-up or remake in 2013. But folks, it seems we've ignored a certain elephant in the room, as it were, and a rather large one at that. Battlefield 4, for those of you who don't know in great detail, was confirmed via a pre-order deal for Medal of Honor Warfighter. The deal stated that you would receive a Battlefield 4 beta if you pre-ordered Warfighter. With this in mind, many of you will be facing the sad realization that a 2142 remake or follow-up isn't in the works at all, rather Battlefield 4 is. But consider this, what if Battlefield 4 is the 2142 sequel we've all been waiting for, in all but name? What I mean is, EA currently has two shooters competing with Call of Duty, and they are Medal of Honor and Battlefield. Now, as we all know, the new Call of Duty, Black Ops 2, is being set in the future. It's also known that Black Ops 2 has smashed all pre-order records for any Call of Duty ever. Now, with that amount of pre-orders, Call of Duty is going to be racking in quite the amount of money. And as we all know, EA loves money. So if I was a betting man, which I'm not, just to let you know, EA would be very keen to compete with Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Black Ops to get some of that money. And with Medal of Honor tackling the Modern Warfare side of things, Battlefield 4 is perfectly positioned to compete with Black Ops in the future era. Hence, the possibility that we are about to get a long-awaited, albeit spiritual, successor to Battlefield 2142 in the form of Battlefield 4. So, with all this evidence presented before you, are you guys now convinced that the next Battlefield game will be set in the future? Do you want it to be? Or do you think Battlefield will forever remain grounded in the modern era? And would you prefer it to be that way? Please leave your opinions below. Feel free to argue, discuss, and concur with each other, and let me know what you think. Finally guys, please leave a like in this video if you thought it was of sufficient quality, as it took multiple hours to put this together, and I'd appreciate the support. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe, as I'll be delivering more informative Battlefield content right to your sub box as often as I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.